Easy guys, Dom here from CDG. So recently I uploaded a video talking about how the different levels in soul cores can affect the damage output of the yang position summon seals and also the damage of the yin position offensive talismans. But one thing we didn't really look at is if there's any change in the debuffs of status effects talismans, such as the SLOTH Talisman for example. Going up in higher levels, does it increase the length of time that enemy is slowed by? Well, it's something I've done some testing on, I've got some figures for you, and we can take a look at it now. So in order for us not to have any special effects or buffs from any of our gear, we've removed everything including our accessories. We've also got a list of my starting stats here with Intellect at 11 as our kind of base starting point, and then we are making sure that the equipped Guardian Spirit doesn't have any special effects that are gonna change the effect of the talisman. So we are starting with a level 21 Dadara Bocce soul core that has the SLOTH Talisman on the yin position, and basically what we did is we did time this on a stopwatch, so these are approximate numbers because there could be some real small variables in time, but you'll kind of get the rough idea of what we're looking at here. So what we're checking is we're checking that little icon underneath the enemy's health that shows the debuff in effect. So this SLOTH we can see is slowing him down, and then once that runs out we'll stop the stop clock, and it was around 20 seconds effect time. Now we're only doing it one time and then we reset in the battle because enemies build up resistances to these effects the more you use them. So if I'd have used SLOTH a second time there, it would have actually run out a lot quicker and it would have skewed our results. We are just checking this a number of times on the same enemy and we were getting the same time. It was around 20 seconds approximately for this particular enemy with Intellect 11. Then what we did is we switched to the same soul core, Dadara Bocce, but level 115 using the SLOTH Talisman in the yin position. Will the level jump make any difference? Because it does on the enhancement bonus for his damage if you use him in the yang position. So this is now a really important test to see if there's any difference. So while we're waiting for this second test result here, I would just like to note that we are only testing a few in this video just purely for the fact it would take too long if we was to test all the talismans that give buffs or debuffs. But you can kind of see how we're doing it in this video and then experiment at your own pace in your own game if you want results on a specific talisman. So as you can see, it's around 20 seconds. It doesn't matter that soul core is a much higher level. The SLOTH Talisman gives exactly the same debuff duration as the lower level soul core. So that's one thing to take away from this. But what about Intellect, I hear you say? A stat that says it affects the duration of effects. So how would that work if we was to go from Intellect 11, which is where we started, say up to Intellect 51? Well, let's test that next. There's clearly a boost in the effect duration within the stats itself, but one thing I can report with this is when it comes to SLOTH, it's still exactly the same. It's 20 seconds on that initial use. It doesn't matter if your Intellect is level 50 or 5, it's going to be exactly the same when it comes to this specific talisman. Are there any special effects out there on armor pieces or accessories that are going to enhance that? I'm still yet to find one. But what about a totally different soul core that has SLOTH Talisman on it, such as the Joro Gumo, which is like a spider mini boss that I fought? I'm kind of testing that as well because I'm like, okay, I might as well just test all the SLOTH Talismans I have available. Why not? It's a different soul core, it might yield different results. But no, unfortunately not. Still 20 seconds, but you know, at least I tried it out and I know what's what now on that and I'm confident. But there's another thing that I wanted to test, and that was, well, okay, I was thinking about Intellect. It doesn't really change the duration of SLOTH, but what about some of the damage over time talismans, such as say Fire Shot as an example? We're starting with Intellect 5, which is right at the base. We're going to check the Fire Shot Talisman, and we're just going to see how long this burns for once we set our test subject on fire, and then we are now timing using a stopwatch. Again, watching that little symbol underneath his health bar, and then once the symbol runs out, we are going to stop the clock. So at Intellect level 5, the Fire Shot Talisman it burnt for approximately 16 seconds, doing that damage over time. We then boosted Intellect to 30, which again did boost our effect duration, and now we are going to test that and time it yet again. Just a note, I did test if level and Omnio magic level actually changed the damage on these offensive shots, and it does. So if you want to watch a little bit more into the stats on that, then you can. But 19 seconds, so we have got a little bit of a duration boost. But what about things like poison shurikens? How long is that poison gonna tick for if we are gonna say test it on our intellect stats? So we can just get a rough idea of, is it really worth pumping into intellect points for the damage over time? You know, is it going to be worth it, or are those points going to be better spent elsewhere in your build? Well, let's find out. So we've reset our intellect to 5, which is literally the base stat, and you can see effect duration shows 100, so it's just at its core, its base, if you want to call it that. And what we're going to do is we're going to poison our test subject with 2 poison shurikens, and basically what this is going to do then is it's going to give us a time to start once the second one hits and the poison takes. So the time is ticking away now, and we can see if intellect actually makes a difference to how long this is going to burn for. Remember that the longer an effect is working on an enemy like this, the more damage over time they are going to take. This is going to also be determined by an enemy's resistance to an effect as well, though. So if someone is more resistant to poison, then they're going to shake it off quicker, and it's going to do less damage than someone who's weak to poison, for an example. So with intellect at its base, we did damage for 37 seconds, but if we then bump intellect up to 30, we can see we do get an effect duration increase to 113.6. So with an increase of 25 points in intellect, you would have thought that this would probably, you know, burn maybe all day long until the guy is in the ground, but unfortunately not. There's literally 5 seconds difference, and it came out at approximately 42 seconds burn time, if you want to call it that. So if you are not pumping points into intellect to use specific accessories or to scale weapon damage, then personally I think I would avoid putting too many points in intellect, to be honest with you. But at least for those of you who might have had the question about the effect duration and you know, status over time, you know, debuffs and things like that, then hopefully this video has kind of pointed you in the right direction. So now you can go away and do your own testing on your own talismans and see what kind of results you get. But what matters more to you in your build? Longer effects or higher damage? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on another video. Thanks for watching.